Hi, I'm Darrell Klassen, and I'd like to welcome you here to the beautiful Hunter Ranch Golf Course in Paso Robles, California. Mike Bremner is the head PGA professional here, and he's been very gracious to let us use his golf course today to share some ideas with you that we believe are going to help you hit the ball much straighter and much longer than you've been hitting in the past. Golf is not really a difficult game. It's quite easy if we can do some of the things that we want to show you today and put some practice time in. I've been teaching golf for 35 years, been a PGA professional and teaching golf for a long time. My wife has been playing for about 3.5 years. She hits her 3-wood around 230 yards off the tee. She's hit her driver as much as 250 to 270 without much problem. I've got an 18-year-old son who consistently hits a golf ball between 280 and 3.25. I've got a son who's a golf professional and instructor himself, hits the ball well over 300 yards on a consistent basis. I've got a young lady I've been working with about 3 years, a year and a half ago at an invitational tournament that she played in for the ladies. She teed it up on a 290-yard 4-par hole, and there's a little lake down by the green. Gals got down that area and they couldn't find a golf ball anywhere, and before the allotted time was up, that she would have to take a penalty. The ladies on the green putting out stuck the flagstick in and hollered back to the group and said, "Is anybody playing a Titleist 2?" And that was Kathy's ball. She had driven the ball 290 yards off the tee. So most of my players hit the ball long ways. My ladies hit the golf ball consistently over 200 to 230, 40 yards. And all of my men who put time in practicing are hitting the ball between 230 and 280 yards at least. The very athletic ones are going over 300 yards. And it's not hard to get more distance out of our golf shots, but there are a few things that we must incorporate to make that happen. The number one thing that is a vital necessity is to learn how the hands work for the release in the golf swing, and number two, to learn how the lower body works in order to create the power that we want to get out of our body. Too often, most of you are having trouble getting distance and controlling your shots because you're swinging all arms and you're not letting your lower body assist in your swing. When we're swinging mostly arms and shoulders in the golf swing, it feels very powerful, it feels strong, it gives us a lot of confidence, and yet we watch our golf ball fly and it's going all over the place. And the reason for that is when we're swinging our shoulders and our arms, we're creating tension in the hands and arms. And that tension destroys a good golf shot. So we'd like to get you in a position where you can begin to feel how to get rid of the tension, get your release, and get things going. So enjoy the golf course and the things that you see in the view in the background, and take special heed to the instruction. Spend a lot of time with it, working on your own game, and you're going to hit the ball way longer than you've ever hit it in your life. All right, let's go to work on it. The first thing that is necessary in order to get more distance out of our golf shots is going to be to learn to hit it straighter. Most of us fight problems hitting the ball with too much slice or too much hook, and everything is, we're losing tremendous yardage in that effect. What we want to do is be able to, first of all, help you hit the ball straighter. Once we can hit the ball a little straighter and get the thing online and get a consistent feel of what that would be, then we'll also come in and show you how to get more distance out of that and increase your power and make this ball go a long ways. That golf ball was struck at least 250 yards, and it didn't take a lot of energy to do it. The number one thing that I was able to accomplish in that golf swing that I've learned down through the years is what release is and how to accomplish it consistently on a repetitive basis in our golf swing. Release in the golf swing is the turning of the golf club to a slightly closed position. When we set our left hand in a strong position on the golf club, which is slightly over the top or clockwise for right-handed golfers, if I were to take the club face and drop it squarely down, that makes my left wrist really tight and my forearms tight. We want to get rid of that tension. If I let my club drop down naturally, let my hand drop naturally, this hand is going to turn to a square position. As this hand turns to a square position, it's going to naturally be rotating the golf club to a closed position. Now, the left hand, you've heard down through the years, is so vital to the golf swing. That's because the left hand, when it's making a turning motion of this nature, the left hand stops here at a square position. The left hand by itself will not roll over during the golf swing. It takes the right hand to come in and mess that up and overdo it. So if we can learn to keep the right hand out of the swing, we're going to have a better chance of getting release. Now, release in the golf swing is the ability to take the club. I'm going to stand with a little bit of extra weight on my right side. I'm going to cock from the waist slightly to the right so that the top of my spine tilts slightly behind the golf ball. In so doing, this puts me in a position to let my shoulders turn. Now I've got my weight in my right hip. With my weight in my right hip, I'm going to take my left hand and throw the club right out here, right toward the line. At that position, my club face should be square to my lap and fairly square to the target. That's a left-handed motion. Now, if you can learn how to take the club from here and throw it out to the line and grab it in the left hand, you'll feel a lot of pressure put on these last 3 fingers of the glove hand. Those 3 fingers are vital to the golf swing. I would recommend very, very highly, if you want to learn to hit the ball farther and farther, that you get your left hand, your glove hand fingers, the last 3 fingers, very, very strong. Use a squeezing type device. There are many things you can get for that, but only use these 3 fingers in your glove hand. Do not strengthen your strong hand already. Do not strengthen your thumb and index finger in the glove hand, just the last 3 fingers. Ladies, don't worry. The more you squeeze that, the stronger you become here. You'll never have unfeminine looking arms. You'll be fine. You're not going to build up a bunch of bulky muscles. When we use what I call a pump drill, I'm throwing this club out there and grabbing it. You can see the shaft flex at that point. There's a lot of speed. I'm throwing that club quite strongly. It's very important to learn to throw the club toward an extension of the line of flight. So if I had a golf ball sitting here on the tee, then I've got an extension of the line of flight here. When I can turn my body into the right side and throw the club with my left hand into that plane or into that line, then my shaft automatically gets on perfect swing plane. You will hear a myriad of things on how to get a golf club on swing plane. People, it is so simple to get a golf club on swing plane. If we take the golf club, swing plane is merely a golf club shaft angle that stays relatively the same the entire time. If we were to take this golf club and throw it at an extension of the line, it's impossible to throw it at that line without this shaft pointing to the line. So I merely throw my club head with the left hand into here with that little closing motion that the left hand takes at that time. That's release. If your golf club is not closing from here to here, you're in trouble. You're slicing the ball severely. If you are closing your golf club from here to here with your right hand, you're pulling the ball terribly. And that is pure fact anywhere in the world. I see golfers all the time, a duck hook. First thing I look for is right hand position and right hand throw. I see golfers slicing. I see the right or left hand trying to pull the golf club forward for power because it feels so strong to do this. But all we're doing is locking that face wide open. You're going to be chasing that ball 3 zip codes to the right. It's not going to be anywhere we can find it. Now let's talk about what a square golf club is for just a moment in this release portion. When we begin our address position, the blade of the club is basically square to our lap. We've been taught by teachers down through the years to keep the club as square to the target as we can through this area. If you take your golf club and put it square to the target here, and let yourself move through and try to keep it square to the target, you'll have to be making an opening of the club face motion in order to keep the club face square to the target. There's no power in that whatsoever. The only way we're going to get power in a golf swing is to get the club face re-squared to the lap. If I can re-square the club to the lap in this position off my right hip, then as I'm turning with my legs, there's that same position. So if I turn from the camera here, make this motion, you see if I set my feet back around, I've only got the golf club back here where it started. So I'm not having to swing the club across my body at all. That is release. When we have the golf club then square to our lap in this position, and we turn here. Now if you can get a good shot of how that club face looks in relation to my lap, that club face is square to my lap. It's not square to the target. June issue 1995, Ernie Els is sitting on the cover of Golf magazine, and he is in this same position. And his golf club is dead square to his lap and is still on the right side of his body. He has not swung the golf club across his body like most of you are. Ernie Els hits a nice long draw and he nails that ball. He gets to walk a long ways before he hits his second shot. Okay, so release is the closing of the club face slightly to this point. It'll only be the amount that your left hand is over the top. As an example, if your left hand is 30 degrees over the golf club when you hold it, then when this goes down, it's going to close the club 30 degrees. Don't worry about that. We want to get that club face in square position to the lap. Then we're going to learn how to turn the body. All right, now that we've seen some things on release, I still can't emphasize enough how strong you need the last three fingers of your glove hand to be. But now that we've covered the release, let's look and see what the legs do to assist us in the golf swing. This is a very vital part of the golf swing because we talked about in the release getting the golf club square to the lap off the right hip. All good tour players, if you can find stop action photos, when they reach this position of the golf swing with the ball here coming to the camera, their golf club, their hands are still off on the right side and their golf club is still on the right side of the body. The hands have never traveled to here except for some wedge shots around the greens. So we want to try to learn to get this golf club released to the right side of our body. Now, how's that going to translate into power? Number one, when we can learn how to get our release, the golf club will be traveling as fastest at the very bottom of the arc of the swing. And yet, in order to get more distance, we have got to get the golf club to be accelerating when it hits the golf ball. Now people, use some common logic for just a moment. If the golf club is accelerating when it hits the golf ball, then it's going to be going faster somewhere beyond the golf ball than it is at the golf ball. I want you to think about that one for a moment. We've got to get the golf club going faster over here than it was at the golf ball. This is where the turn of the legs comes in. First, I'll show you the turn of the legs and how that's going to accommodate that. When we have turned the shoulders properly, which we'll talk about in a moment, and let the legs move, we're going to strike the golf ball off of the right hip, but the golf club and the body are traveling to this position. Now, when I reach this position beyond the golf ball, the golf club is still off of my right side. So the turn of the body has created the club head motion of the swing going through. If I were to put this golf club here and fasten it to my body and turn, the club goes past the golf ball without me doing anything with my arms and shoulders whatsoever. So the leg motion in the golf swing is one of the major factors to getting more distance. Now, to get their legs working strongly, the first thing we want to learn to do is how to coil. We've all heard the word coil, and the average person thinking that he or she is coiling turns the hip. When we turn this hip, two or three things happen that are death to the golf swing. Number one, the right leg stiffens. Number two, the weight has been thrown back into my left heel. And number three, I have nothing to go with. I absolutely have no power source whatsoever right now. Okay? So we want to build a power source. We want to get that power source very similar to a baseball player throwing a ball. Baseball player will rock to his right, swing his arm back, stride, turn his legs, and whip his arm. That's exactly what we'd like to create with a golf club. To do that, we talked earlier, we want to cock slightly to the right with the spine. That puts the left ear behind the golf ball. From there, instead of taking the left shoulder under the golf swing and under the shoulder, which we've heard so many years, if I turn this shoulder under, my spine has gone from here, come back to here, and I've got a reverse tilt